Okay, this is your latitude and longitude lesson. Go ahead and make sure that you have your world map and also a piece of paper to write some words on. When you're done, you should have a list of a couple words that you're going to turn in to me to make sure that I know that you did it to get your extra credit. Okay, we're going to start with latitude because when looking at coordinates, you have two numbers in a direction. So let's say this is 10 north and 15 east. Your latitude is always this number, okay? Always, always, always latitude first. So your latitude, we're going to draw them out real quick. The first one is the equator, and latitude measures how far something is from the equator. So we're right here, latitude, okay? Now as we go north from the equator, you're going to hit 15 north. So if you're above the equator, you're in the northern hemisphere. So now we're at 30 north. Now notice, as I start from one side of the world to the other, my number doesn't change. So if I start at 45 over here in the west, and I go across the world, I'm still at 45 north. Okay, it's still the same. Let's do it again for 60. I start one side of the world. I start in North America, a little bit past the Pacific Ocean. Come over here, and I'm near Russia. We're still in the water. But one side of the world to the other, you are still at 60 north. Nothing has changed. We're over here, still 75 north. Come up here, still 90 north. The reason for that is as I start on this side, I'm at 90 north, and I come over here, I'm still at 90 north. That is because latitude runs east to west. Okay? Because when it's running, it's not measuring. It's just running. Okay? We're going to go down here. We're measuring away from the equator in the south hemisphere. So we're at 15 south. We come down. 30 south. Come down. 45 south. All right here, 60 south. Come right here, 75 south. Come down here, 90 south. Okay? So again, we know that latitude runs east and west because while it's running, it's not doing anything. It's just exercising. But if I were to start down here in Antarctica, boom, 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 and climb my ladder of latitude, boom, 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 I'm right here. I start at 90 south, and as I go up, I end up at 30 south. So I change numbers, which means as I'm climbing, I am measuring. So latitude measures north and south. And that is because, remember, when you have a ladder, your steps go like this. So when you want to go up, you want to use these steps right here to climb up the ladder. So latitude is like a ladder. So when you climb up and down, you're measuring. So think latitude is like a ladder. You want to go up and down to measure. Okay? So if we're in 30 south and my person starts climbing the ladder, it ends up right here. He is at 75 north. Okay, because latitude measures north to south, but it does run east to west. But remember, you're only measuring when you're climbing, and when you're running, you're just hanging out, exercising, and running. Okay, so that is our latitude, and our latitude is ladder, and ladder is actually the first word that you need to write down to get your extra credit. So number one word is ladder. Okay, now let's practice some coordinates for latitude. So our longitude, we're just going to keep at 0. This is 0 longitude. So everything is going to be on that line, and we're going to be measuring our latitude. Okay, so we're going to start, let's say 30 north, and let's do 15 south. Okay, so we're going to start 30 north. We go up, we go from the equator, we go up, we stop at 30, and then we come to our 0, so we know right there, we're going to cut off our trail. This right here is 30 south. We're going to give it that color, okay? Then when we want to do 15 south, we're going to come right here, go to our equator, 15, follow to 0, 15 south. I'm going to erase my trail so I can see this is the only coordinates for 15 south. And this is green, okay? Now it is your turn. On your piece of paper, go ahead and get your map out. And you want to map out A and B, okay? Your A coordinates are going to be 15 north, and your B coordinate is going to be 90 south. So go ahead and pause the video, and then on your paper map, go ahead and graph these coordinates, and make sure you put an A and a B so that way we know which coordinates go with which. Okay, now that you've unpaused me, I'm going to go ahead and show you where they are. So 15 north is right here. So your first coordinate should have been right here in Africa, and 90 south should have been right here in Antarctica. Okay, and that is our latitude. Now remember, number one rule is latitude means you start on the sides. Okay, these first numbers are all latitude, so you always have to look at the sides. Okay, now our next one is longitude. Longitude is the opposite of latitude. So your longitude starts at your prime meridian. Boom. And goes down. And as it measures away from the prime meridian, it is going to measure east to west. Now, I'm using straight lines, so you're going to see it doesn't exactly measure up with the longitude lines. That is because longitude lines are curved. So one rule with longitude is follow the longitude line. If I'm right here, if I go straight down, I'm no longer on this degree. Okay, so I have to move with the curve. But I'm drawing the lines just so you can see that longitude runs north and south. So think longitude is like a giraffe. It has a long neck that goes up and down. Okay, so here's my giraffe. It goes up and down. However, as I go away from the equator, it's like Tarzan. So here's Tarzan with his long neck, and he is grabbing the next longitude line because he is moving from east to west. And as he moves and climbs on his vine, he is measuring. So longitude measures east and west. Even though it has a long neck, it only runs north and south, but it measures east and west because as Tarzan comes and follows the vines, he is going to be measuring east to west. And remember, if the prime meridian is right here, as you get further from the prime meridian, that's what you're measuring. You're measuring from the prime meridian. So if I'm right here at 0, and then I come over here, I'm at 120, that means I measured. Okay? So your second word is giraffe. Your first word is ladder. Second word is giraffe. So let's go ahead and practice some longitude coordinates. So we're going to do latitude is 0. Longitude, let's do 30 east. And then for our next one, we're going to do 0, and we're going to do 90 west. Okay, so let's try right here. I start at 0 because we're on the equator, so we know we're on this line. And then we go 30 east. Now, if I'm right here, let's get a different color so you can see a little bit better. If I'm right here, I know east is this way. Okay, so you always remember east is on the right hemisphere. So the east hemisphere is over here. I'm going to go 30 right here, east. I'm going to follow my line. And here is my 0, 30 east. Okay, then I come here, 0, 90 west. So I know west is this side. Remember, the United States is on the western hemisphere. Okay, so remember, you live on the western hemisphere. So look for your house and know that's the direction you're going for west. I'm at 90. I follow the curve. This is a little bit hard to follow right here. I'm going to 0, so we end up right here in South America. Okay, I'm going to give you a few coordinates to practice. So we're at 0. Let's do 45 east and 0. Let's do 30 west. Okay, go ahead and pause and write these two on your maps. And instead of doing A and B, we're going to do C and D. Okay, so now that you've unpaused, that means you're done. We're going to start at 0. You're going to do 45 east. Remember, 45 east is away from your house. We're going to go right 30. This is 30 points, so 15 is going to be halfway through. So here is C. And then you're going to come right here for D. You're going to start at 0. And you're going west, which is right here. Remember, follow that line. It's going to be right here with D. Good job. Okay, now we got to remember our hemispheres. Some things that people really mess up is just knowing which direction to go. So remember, the equator divides the world between north and south. Okay, so look, right here is South America, and right here is North America. Okay, so think that is just a pure sign of which hemisphere we are in, north or south. But then the prime meridian, it divides east and west. Okay, remember we talked about west is our home. We live in the western hemisphere. If you hear about Eastern culture, a lot of times they're talking about Asian culture, which is right about here. And when they talk about Western culture, they're usually talking about the United States or even Europe because it's west from over here in Asia at the east. Okay, so one more time. This is the northern hemisphere. This is the southern hemisphere. But then you divide it again, and you have the eastern hemisphere and the western hemisphere. Okay, and so your next words are going to be north, south, east, and west, and that is your order. So it has to be north, south, east, and west to add to the other two words. Okay, now beyond this, we're just going to practice because a lot of times this is practice makes perfect. So I'm going to give you a few different coordinates that you're going to put on your map, and then we will check them when you turn them in. So I'm going to put the coordinates right here, and then actually I'm going to type them, and then you can pause the video and work on those coordinates and then turn it in and we will check it. So good job putting in that extra work in, and keep working on your latitude and longitude. And then let's put some fun coordinates on here. So let's do And those are your coordinates to put on your map. Make sure you have the north spelt out.